One of the players that I think is maybe the most interesting in the 2025 fantasy football season is running back Kaleb Johnson from Pittsburgh. He's actually from Iowa, but he was drafted this year in the second round to the Pittsburgh Steelers to replace the one and only Najee Harris, who over the course of the last 4 seasons had 1,000 yards and 250 carries each season. That's with bad offensive line play in Pittsburgh. This year's offensive line rankings are up on RosterWatch.com, and I'm telling you, Pittsburgh doesn't look great on paper. They're ranked right there in the middle, 19th overall. But it's going to be the first year that this offensive line, this young offensive line, is going to be cohesively together. First round picks, Broderick Jones, Troy Fautanu. Second round pick, Zach Frazier, who is a center that grew immensely in year one out of West Virginia. Mason McCormick, a sixth rounder from South Dakota State, came in and landed in Pittsburgh and has had a good rookie season. And then Isaac Seumalo, who was a Pro Bowler last year and at left guard. It's an underrated offensive line that ranks in the teens, but has the potential to end up in the top 10 by the end of the season, leading the way for Kaleb Johnson. Not only that, they add Aaron Rodgers, who we know isn't going to throw the ball 600 times, even though he probably could if you wanted him to. He almost threw for 4,000 yards last year. They've gotten rid of a lot of weaponry. They got DK Metcalf in, Jonnu Smith to kind of play that slot, a little bit outside role for Aaron Rodgers. Kaleb Johnson's going to play in that Najee Harris role. And you're getting a great value on him in fantasy football in 2025 so far. He's going off at running back 27 on consensus ADP, which is around 68th overall, right around the likes of Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, Roma Dunze, and Tony Pollard. Kaleb Johnson's a great value today in fantasy football. Again, you're getting him not in the first round, not in the second round, not in the third round, not in the fourth round, not in the fifth. You get him in the late sixth, early seventh round in fantasy football drafts. And if you're using the ultimate draft cheat sheet at rosterwatch.com, you're going to end up getting a little bit of Kaleb Johnson. We best compared him to David Montgomery and Nick Chubb coming through the pre-draft process this spring. He took on a 49% of his team's production in college. 49%, 48.8 to be exact, which is number one in a class that happened to contain Ashton Jeanty, who was a 43.6%, alongside RJ Harvey's 43.8%. Kaleb Johnson is the real deal Holyfield. I feel really good about that. He's going to continue to grow up through the process as we get closer and closer to week one. People are going to fall in line with this Pittsburgh Steelers backfield thing and not believe that Jaylen Warren hype that comes up every single August in Latrobe. Jaylen Warren's a good back, but he's not Kaleb Johnson. They add Kenny Gainwell to this backfield this year. Kenny Gainwell's a good back. He's not Kaleb Johnson. They drafted Kaleb Johnson in the second round because it's a little bit better value than drafting a running back in the first round like they did with Najee Harris 5 years ago, which was wrong in the first place. Unless it's a rare talent like a Bijan or a Saquon or a Jeanty, you don't do that in the first round. Everybody knows that. I digress. I'll leave that soapbox for another time. Kaleb Johnson was the value at the running back position in this draft. He's built for Pittsburgh. You want to see a running back take 250 carries and continue this trend of 250 carries and 1,000 yards, or maybe 11, maybe 1,200 yards and 8 to 12 touchdowns. Kaleb Johnson is your guy. He's going to finish as a top 20 running back in fantasy football. It's going to be a guy that I'm continually pushing up on the Ultimate Draft cheat sheet to make sure that we're getting some Kaleb Johnson. He's fallen 5 spots in ADP over the course of the last month and a half. Why? I don't know. Because they added Jonnu Smith? Because they added Aaron Rodgers? Like, those are positives for the running back in Kaleb Johnson. Having a Jonnu Smith, a guy that they're going to use all over the formations, cool. He's not going to come in and take 40 carries away. Having an Aaron Rodgers at 40 years old at the helm with a good offensive line, lean on the run, is important for Kaleb Johnson's growth. Use the Ultimate Draft cheat sheet at rosterwatch.com. Get Kaleb Johnson. Win your fantasy drafts. And just enjoy it, because this is a running back that you're going to get. Like I said, running back 27. It's a value across all boards. And this offense, I can't say enough about this offensive line in Pittsburgh. I really think Broderick Jones getting over to left tackle in place of Dan Moore in another year in the system is going to only continue to help it grow. Troy Fautanu, who's coming off a knee injury, didn't play but 55 snaps last year. He'll be in a right tackle. Like I said, Mason McCormick and Zach Frazier. I can't say enough about the growth and the drafting that the Pittsburgh Steelers have experienced over the last 3 years, and completely taking this offensive line from a time that we thought this offensive line was going to be kind of where Seattle is right now, kind of where Miami is right now. You go back to 2023, 2022, where the Pittsburgh Steelers were the 32nd ranked offensive line in the RosterWatch offensive line rankings, and they've completely turned it around to now this year, they're into the top 20 and they're climbing. And I wouldn't put it outside the range of possibility that when we talk at 365 days about what happened with the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2025, a playoff berth, a 1,200, 1,300 yard rusher in Kaleb Johnson, and an offensive line that's looking like a top 5 offensive line for the next decade, following in line with what the Dallas Cowboys once did, and quite honestly have done again in Dallas, drafting offensive linemen early, first round, second round picks. It's working for Pittsburgh. It's going to work for you in fantasy football. I'm Cody Carpentier with RosterWatch.com. We appreciate you. We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
This is Anthony Richardson, and you're listening to Roster Watch.
This is AJ Brown, and you're listening to Roster Watch.
This is Josh Allen, and you're listening to Roster Watch.